All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Peter Renna back with another edition of Dollar Bin Digging. Now, I had taken a little bit of a break from doing the Marvel Disney Plus shows, and with last week I did WandaVision again. I'm kind of getting back in that frame of mind. So WandaVision's wrapping up this week, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of things spinning out of that. But I'm going to look a little bit further ahead. I've already done Falcon and Winter Soldier. I've already looked a little bit ahead to Loki. And while I think What If might be next, I'm going to jump that for right now, and I'm going to start looking at Hawkeye. So just hang in there. I'm probably going to have to break this up into two parts. I'm going to kind of look at more of like a Clint Barton, more focused list, and then a Kate Bishop maybe list, maybe next week or a little bit later, just because I didn't want to squeeze too much into one show, and I had a few ideas of things you can keep an eye out for. So I figured it best to break it into two. So stick around, and we'll be right back. All right. So, as I mentioned in the opening there, I'm going to kind of break this Hawkeye kind of list out into two ways. I'm going to kind of look today mostly at like Clint Barton, maybe some villains, and some of the characters that might be appearing in the show, but kind of separating it from things that I could see, more focused in on the Young Avengers and Kate Bishop, because I really feel like her introduction here might lead into something bigger for herself, or whether it be Young Avengers, her joining up with the team, or maybe even a spin-off show of her own. I feel like this show might introduce her, and then it's possible that these two might break off into their own separate ways, if Jeremy Renner decides to stick around and play Hawkeye for a little bit longer, which who knows, maybe he will. But that said, I can tell by the background what I'm just first going to just quickly mention. If you haven't picked these up, or if anytime you see these books in the cheap bins, definitely grab this Run a Hawkeye, because I'm sure this is going to be mine for a lot of the material going forward. It's a great read. There's a Fraction and then the covers by David Aja. It just great. And Hollingsworth, the three of them together. This is an excellent series, and you really should be grabbing whatever you can find. And the later printings on these are just gorgeous as well. Like, if you look here at issue 2, there are 5 versions, 5 printings of this, and each of them, while very, very similar, kind of are really cool in their own way. From more of the blank look to the second print, to just that purple bluish background of the third, to the fourth kind of still sticking with that silhouette kind of look, and then with the fifth kind of bringing back that silhouette look, but with the original background a little bit. I mean, very slight differences between the 5, but all 5 are really nice, and I'd grab any of them if I could find them. And that's issue 2, and I think issue 1 also had 5 as well. And as you can see, like, even some of the later printings got the second print or third printing treatment. This is issue 6, the second print that I put up here. But there's a lot of great ones with this purplish border. So that being said, let's just kind of get into our first book. So we know that we're going to have Swordsman showing up on this show. Now, whether he'll be dressed up in a suit as the Swordsman, the character, I think, is Jack Duquesne, if I'm saying that correctly. He's cast, and his first appearance is an old Avengers book. This is Avengers number 19. Like, you're not going to find this in a dollar bin, but just so you know, that's the first appearance of Swordsman. If you find it even in your shop and you find it relatively cheap, maybe it's worth picking up even in a lower grade, because we've seen what things like Red Guardian have done over the last year or two. Ups and downs, to be sure, but if you buy something cheap enough, there will always be an opportunity for you to at least get your money back if you wanted to get out of it. But definitely keep an eye out for it, even just for your own PC, because it's it's a classic character. Now, as I said, they cast the character of Jack Duquesne. He's going to be on the show. Most likely, they'll kind of follow some of the kind of retcon type of background details we've gotten about Hawkeye, with him being one of his mentors. So I'm looking for Solo Avengers Hawkeye number 1. This is still found pretty cheap, even online, but this is the type of old side Avengers title book that you can find, like you used to be able to find the West Coast Avengers books in the dollar bins, but now a few of those have heated up thanks to WandaVision that they're not as easy to find. But Solo Avengers is a title that you can still find on the cheap if you dig. Just tons of these out there, but definitely something interesting. So maybe take a flyer on it for cheap because, again, in this story, apart from it being a team up here with Mockingbird in this issue, we get just a little bit of that background where, Clint was, I think, orphaned, and he was joined a carnival or a circus or something, and Swordsman was a character there, and he kind of helped train him, to get him to where he is today. Now, will they do it exactly like that on the show? I don't know, probably not, especially with the Mockingbird stuff. But who knows? Who knows where they might go? But I definitely feel that we're going to get some sort of mentor relationship out of this. Now, whether they'll turn the mentor bad or not, remains to be seen. But I think we're at the very least getting that, mentor, relationship going in.
I'm going to mentor this kid to the top.
But this issue also features just the kind of quick introduction to Trickshot, which is another villain possibility. Now, I haven't seen any casting or rumors that he's going to be on this series or on this show, but hey, it's something to keep an eye on because you know how Marvel has loved to do that kind of evil version of their characters. I mean, Ironmonger was just evil version, basically of Iron Man. You had, Yellow Jacket that they made in Ant-Man was basically just the evil version of Ant-Man. They just kind of kept things simple in that way, with Abomination being the evil Hulk. They just wanted an equal footing, good guy, bad guy, to easily relate in that kind of first meeting. So maybe they do something similar here and we get a little bit of a trick shot. I know there's other villains and things rumored for this series, but we have no idea how deep they'll go into anything. There could be just a lot of like introductions, like maybe Kaz and that clown character, just introduction to something we might see later down the line when Kate gets her own show. I don't know. Pure speculation. But this book, again, can be found on the cheap. It's got a couple of good, interesting things about it that make it worthwhile picking up, especially just for $1. So definitely keep your eye out for it because apart from the swordsman training, it looks like Trickshot had a little bit in the handling of Clint's upbringing as well, which also could lead to some of his. Hawkeye did start off as a villain, so could have led to those criminal tendencies. And even in the MCU, I think they've kind of hinted at that. He hasn't had the cleanest of pasts, so who knows what we'll see. But so keep an eye on these Solo Avengers books. Like I said, number 1 is a good one to look out for. And then you can see here, even on a few issues later, issue 5, you get Trickshot there on the cover. It's kind of a older, heavier set Hawkeye look to him, but definitely something to keep an eye out for. So Swordsman is the first character that I was looking at for this week. All right, for our second book, kind of piggybacking off that Trickshot kind of line of thinking, I'm looking at Hawkeye Blind Spot number 1. The whole miniseries, I think it's like 4 issues, is probably worth grabbing if you can find them. But in this one, we actually get introduced to Clint's brother. Not introduced for the first time, because that happened ages ago, way back in, was it Mighty Avengers 64, I think? But introduced as Trickshot. He basically becomes, a villainous version, I guess, of Hawkeye. So brother against brother, story as old as time. Maybe not the most original thing in the world, but as I noted, this is not Charles Barton or what do they call him? So Hawkeye Blind Spot number 1 features the introduction of Hawkeye's brother as this villain Trickshot. He basically takes over the mantle from the original. And now this isn't Charles Barton, Clint's brother. His first appearance. His first appearance was way back in Mighty Avengers 64, I believe. And then even in that issue, he was just kind of like a plot device, basically, because he died in that issue. So he's sacrificing himself for his brother. So he didn't have a lot of legs planned for him, and it was just kind of retcon later to kind of make and bring back, Clint's brother into something. Now, I don't know if this is a way they'll go in the MCU. It's kind of convoluted, and I think it's the sort of thing they might try to avoid, but maybe they work it in a little bit differently. I don't know, but this is still an interesting issue and an interesting miniseries because it just introduces that idea of the flip side of the coin, that polar opposite to the hero. So that is something, again, the MCU has dealt with a lot, where you just basically have the complete opposite character as the bad guy. So it's still something that they might do at some point. So something to keep an eye on. So Hawkeye, Blind Spot. One, all the way through four. If you find them for cheap, I'd recommend picking them up. All right, and for our next book, we know that the character of is it Maya Lopez? She's been cast in this series as Echo. Well, I mean, we're just assuming she'll show up as Echo, and obviously people have already known about this book for a while now. So that Daredevil 9, her first appearance, is something that has been pretty much picked clean, and even it's had its reintroduction back to those cheap bins again as Spec kind of died. It goes in waves. This thing, it goes back and forth. It goes around and around in a circle. So
you get on the horse, it goes up and down and around, circular circle with the music, the flow, all good things.
Just always keep an eye out for it, especially when you're digging, because it's worth grabbing when you find it. But chances if you find it are probably pretty slim at this point. So you can look for this, first Echo, but I used to have a lot of success finding the next issue. But they cast the character. We know she's going to be on the show, but we might want to look at this issue 10 because apart from it being a little easier to find than the 9, just because everybody's grabbed the 9s as the first and they didn't really care about the second, this is a great cover for her, so it's a much more engaging image than the first appearance issue. But this issue also introduced the backstory of her father, Crazy Horse, and that's kind of introduced in this story here, is how he, I think he was maybe not an assassin, an enforcer for Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, and Kingpin basically offed him. So she has a revenge tale of her own to be built upon. And we know that character, Crazy Horse, her father, has also been cast for this show. So maybe we see this story play out now, and this is a thread that they leave open for something more down the line for Echo. I don't know. Maybe it's just a little side story, just a little fan, a little fan nugget to put out there, a little Easter egg for people who like to pay attention. That's the only reason why they did it. Who knows? But Daredevil issue 10 is definitely one to keep an eye out for if you can still find it. I know it's a little tough these days, but 15 is also a good one because that also goes into a bit more of that story and that little bit backstory of her father and his dealings with the Kingpin a little bit there. So definitely a good run. This followed up, the opening Mysterio arc for Kevin Smith when when he took over Daredevil back in those Marvel Knights days. So I grabbed these issues anyway, just because it was kind of a fun run. But 10 and 15 are definitely issues you might be able to still find out there. So keep an eye out for them in the bins. All right, and for our last book, there are some more rumors that we might even get a Mockingbird appearance, on this Hawkeye show. I'm not sure if they'll go that route because it could really muddy the waters and make things a little bit difficult to kind of fit that relationship in with the Hawkeye that we have. I mean, he's married with a family at this point, so kind of like an old ex-girlfriend storyline may not make a lot of sense, especially now after we saw the arc that Hawkeye went with his family, basically all being snapped and getting them back. That I don't think that's a door that they really want to knock on right now, but hey, you never know. Maybe they leave that whole part out about any prior relationships. Maybe they're just good old friends. I don't know. But, again, you're not going to find the first for Mockingbird, that Marvel team up in the dollar bins. I mean, if you do, definitely keep an eye out for it. But just wanted to throw that out there. And interesting to note that Adrian Palecki, I believe was how you say her name. She played this character on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before they got written off to do their own spin-off show that actually never occurred. I think it was going to be called Most Wanted. And unfortunately, I was kind of curious because I liked her character and I liked the Jason Blood character that they were going to spin off together to do a show, but it never panned out. So, yeah, oh well. I doubt that they'll bring her back since the MCU is basically just kind of writing off Coulson's crew as being sort of a separate reality. Maybe they tie some things in. Probably not. So if we do get Mockingbird, they probably will recast. But just thought it was interesting to note that they had cast her before. So without the first appearance, what else could we really look at with Mockingbird? I think the Hawkeye and Mockingbird miniseries, I think it was six issues back in that Heroic Age time frame, is a good set to keep an eye out for. They can still be found for pretty cheap. There's some pretty cool art in here and some pretty nice covers as well. I mean, apart from the cover A, there was this kind of like throwback kind of pinup style edition cover. I think this was when they were doing like Women of Marvel back during that time. And this Mockingbird cover is kind of nice. So I would keep an eye out for that. I it was not a ratio variant, so it's just a variant that may just be out there in bins. So just keep an eye out for it. And this issue also had, I believe it did have an incentive variant, but that aside, there's also a second print that is kind of interesting because you didn't see a lot of new art second prints back then. So just something to keep an eye out for the cheap. I don't believe this sells for all that much right now anyway, but yeah, keep an eye out for it because who knows, especially with all the rage of these second prints these days. And the entire run, like I said, has some pretty nice covers, and it kind of features the villain Crossfire quite a bit throughout. So that is something else that I also find a little bit intriguing, and maybe what we look at in the honorable mention. So if you are watching this on my channel, I might give you a little bit more on that character after we shut down here. So keep an eye out during the credits if you're watching it on my channel. But otherwise, maybe we'll get back to it when we get back to this Hawkeye list. But again, keep an eye out for this entire run. I doubt that they'll really get into this romance aspect between the two characters because, again, I just don't think it will play very well given what they've already done to Clint. But hey, who knows? You never know what they might do. Maybe they'll find it spicy and want to bring that in.
Ooh, another interesting confrontation. This could be spicy. Yeah, George, bring them over.
So keep an eye out for that set as well. Who knows what they might do? It's just something to something you might be able to still find for cheap, because finding cheap books these days, especially with Marvel speculation, is not the easiest thing to do, as instant alerts and notifications going out get people clearing out all the online places and all the shops near you pretty quickly these days. Even shops themselves start pulling from their own stock. But, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you do get things that just people just don't bother digging that far into. The dollar bins, I don't know how they are near you, but they could be pretty daunting if somebody wants to dig through completely unorganized bin of books, the unbagged and unboarded with no rhyme nor reason. So you might get lucky if you're patient and have a keen eye. So with that said, we're just going to wrap up here for this week. Thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe to my channel, as well as Tales from the Flip Side. Please read the article over on comicbookinvest.com, where I'll give you some of the more recent sales information on these books so you can see exactly what we're talking about here. And hopefully you're enjoying this. I still got some more stuff coming over the next foreseeable future, basically. I don't plan on stopping doing this anytime soon, so hopefully you're liking it, and please let me know down in the comments, and I will see you guys all next time. All right, thanks for sticking around and checking out. I do have an honorable mention, just kind of picking up that thread that I left there on the Hawkeye Mockingbird miniseries with the villain Crossfire, because that's something we might get. Maybe not this season, but I'm thinking again, this first season could just introduce Kate Bishop to the larger universe and maybe break the two up, spin her off into her own thing, whether it be Young Avengers or her own show down the line, which is why I wanted to break her off into her own list. And then maybe we do get Clint back for his second series with him on his own. And that's the kind of thing where I could better see them following up this thread of maybe following him and Mockingbird together. Maybe they're dealing with something from their past and maybe dealing with a villain like Crossfire here. Because I think he's a street level type. He's non-super powered kind of threat that really would fit in well with these types of characters. So we don't have to worry about fantastical, world-ending type threats. This is more street level, something that we can get a nice little story, just beginning, middle, and end told. And like I said, I just don't see a lot of Mockingbird showing up in this first series because we're getting Kate Bishop. It doesn't make a lot of sense to keep giving him a lot of partners tagging in and out, but giving him a new partner for a second series would make a little bit of sense, even if it's just a little temporary thing. So Crossfire, like I said, he's the main villain in that Hawkeye and Mockingbird miniseries. So again, I'd look for all 6 of them if you can find them. Some cool covers. I mean, look at issue 4 there. That's a pretty cool cover with that targeting thing. He's got kind of a bullseye kind of vibe to him. But you might be able to still find his first pretty cheap, either be online or in the bins, because Marvel 2-in-1s are there's plenty of them out there. They're kind of packing in those bins when you get those old kind of copper bronze, just Marvel books just shoved in there. A lot of times they're Marvel 2-in-1s, and there aren't a lot of them that are worth, digging for and pulling out. So 52 is one you might be able to find, which is Crossfire's first appearance. So it's just something to keep an eye out for. I mean, he's definitely got an interesting look. He really reminds me of that G.I. Joe figure Lifeline. I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about, but just that kind of red and white, and even the cross, it just has like more of a medical vibe to me than a threat. But hey, if handled well, he could be a pretty cool villain, even if he does kind of have a Deadshot vibe mixed with Bullseye kind of thing going for him. But that's just a book that you might want to keep an eye out for. So Marvel 2 and 152, something that might still be out there, just worth keeping our eyes out for it. So hopefully you're like that, and until next time, see you guys later.